My son drove a toy car around and scratched a Maybach directly. The one who came down from the car was his ex. The habit of taking it out on cars is like you. You're a lousy driver. Like you. The words but the back of his head. His body's coldness is half eliminated. I'm numb. Is it too late to talk about the misunderstanding? My son is only 5 years old. And he's already got the toy car. 1 second. I was sitting smugly in his co-pilot. The next second. I looked at the scuffed-up Maybach and went weak in the knees. Jesus Christ. There's no insurance on toy cars. With a salary of $5,000 a month. Would I be able to pay for it? Mommy! The eldest child also realized that he was in trouble. The reaction of weak legs is exactly the same as mine. I tearfully consoled. It's okay. Mommy, it can be solved. As soon as I said that, a man got out of the car. A high-fashion suit with a straight body. With the light on his back. I could feel the powerful aura on him. It's over. It seems like I've kicked the bucket this time. Just as I lowered my head, ready to hug and cry with the good oldest child, I heard the man's cool and nice voice. You are fully responsible. 3 short words and my heart went cold. What's even cooler is this voice. How with 5 years ago I dumped my ex-boyfriend Jason exactly the same. This. My body reacted faster than my brain. And I subconsciously took my son's face and hugged it to my chest. I was truly abashed. I'm afraid that I'm going to have to settle old grudges with new ones. And I'm going to spend my life by paying off my debts. I pretended to ruffle my hair and leaned at an angle to block my face tightly. First. Sir. How much you say? I'll just pay for it. My voice was clipped to death. The kind that my own mother couldn't even hear. Theoretically. Jason was so rich that he wouldn't make things too difficult for people. But I didn't expect that his voice, which was too good to be true, said something that sounded like hell. 200. $0. A corner scratched. Want me 200. $0? In a fit of anger. I didn't hold back and stood up directly from the toy car. Jason. Why don't you go and rob it for 200? $0? Jason's slightly drooping eyes slowly lifted up. And his cold eyes fixed on my face for 3 seconds. Not going to keep pretending? Me. Well. My own mother couldn't hear my clip sound. My ex could. I'm a little vain. Not pretending. Just didn't recognize it. His eyes paused. Then swept to the good oldest child in my arms. I couldn't help but hug tighter. As much as I didn't want to admit it. But the father and son were practically cut from the same mold. It was only after Jason, and I broke up back then that I realized there were cubs. Your child? In case Jason guessed. I blurted out. A friend's. As soon as the words fell out of my mouth, the good oldest child tugged at the hem of my shirt. Mommy. You can't lie. Me. Great. This father and son have almost the same skills in taking me down. Except for their faces. I want to cry and try to muddle through. I didn't expect Jason's eyes to be as cold as when I mentioned breaking up at that time. He took a deep breath and coldly squeezed out 2 words. How old? 4. Good old boy, uncle. 5 years old. Me. I wanted to interrupt. Well, let's get down to business. Compensation. Jason suddenly spoke out, directly interrupting my words. 5 years since we broke up and our son is 5 years old? Bella. You're good. I opened my mouth. Somewhat speechless. Jason was justifiably angry. After all, when we broke up, the school was abuzz with rumors. Some people said that I ran away with a rich man. Others said that I went to marry my fiancé. And even more people said that I was betting with someone. Playing with Jason's feelings. And when I had played enough, I dumped him. In short, Jason was a pure victim in everyone's mouth. Reunited 5 years later, I had another son. It's something I can't wash my hands of completely. I stiffly tried to skirt the subject. 200. Sorrow is too much for the sake of our former friendship. Can we lose less? 200. 0. How many paintings do I have to do to earn it? Jason smiled coldly. What kind of friendship do I have with you? For Jason is as ruthless as ever. Just like the countless times I confessed my love when I chased after him. He didn't even blink when he rejected someone. He continued. New car. First time on the road. And my car didn't move. His two simple sentences made my lips quiver as if I were singing about apprehension. In your new car, are you insured? Not yet. Me. God, you're not giving me any life at all. I was struggling for my life, but it's just a little scratch. Not even a tenth of what I had back then. Well, taking it out on the car is a skill. Like you. As his words fell, my heart grew even weaker. Back then, there was a time when I lost my temper and drove away in his BMW. And when I came back, the rearview mirror and the front end of the car were all smashed. I was so scared that I hid in the wrecked car and didn't dare to say anything. Jason finally found me, put his forehead against mine, and coaxed me in a low voice. Take it out on the car. Huh? Meeting those amber eyes again. I was so ashamed and angry that my brain started talking nonsense. I'm a lousy driver. Like you. When I finished speaking, I felt the coldness of his body halfway disappear. Only then did I realize what I had said. How did I dig my own hole and jump into it? I didn't mean anything else. I just said you're a lousy driver. Just like my 5-year-old son. After saying that, I wanted to die even more. Because after hearing my words, Jason lifted up his cell phone and pressed 3 numbers, 110. After I tearfully cried about having an old man and a young man, Jason finally backed down from 200K to 100K. Though but 100K. That's too hard. I opened my mouth and was about to retort when he spoke again in a faint voice. Didn't you get a big money? What? You can't come up with 100. 0? I had a breath stuck in my throat. I couldn't swallow it and I couldn't bring it up. But in order for the truth not to be exposed, I gritted my teeth and agreed. 100. 0 is fine. But in installments. Jason raised his eyes and looked down at me. Then picked up his cell phone and opened the QR code. Add friend. Just in case you run away again. I was about to say something, but I lost my concentration by the avatar on the QR code. It was our couple avatar from 5 years ago. My WeChat from back then has been logged out. How come he didn't even change his avatar? Just then, I heard Jason speak coolly. Don't get me wrong. Just too lazy to change it. I paused and accepted this. After all, this is very Jason. In the past, his QQ avatar was not changed for years. Now WeChat doesn't change it seems to make sense. I reassured myself that I was overthinking it. And after adding my friends, I turned around and tried to get back on the toy car to go home. However, the car hadn't even turned on yet when Jason blocked our path with a long stride. Still driving? Still want to pay someone $100. 0? Without waiting for me to retort. The good oldest child was defiant first. Mommy says I'm great. Indifferent eyes kept falling on me. After a minute, I couldn't resist the pressure to carry the cub out. Pup. Let's walk home. We're not far outside the neighborhood anyway. So it's a pretty close walk. Jason spoke again. So, the toy car you're going to push home? This position is kinda hard on the back. Me. Without waiting for me to say anything more, he reached out with his big hand and directly picked up the whole toy car. No need. The toy car is a bit big. The trunk may not fit. Before I could finish my sentence, I saw him directly put the car and threw it into the back seat. Jason faintly opened his mouth. Get in the car. Before getting into the car, I hurriedly took out a child mask and put it on my cub. Then I sat in the front seat with him in my arms. Every time I look back at the dirty leather seat, I can't help but shiver. Jason, this cleanliness freak, won't be a moment to make me pay for it again. Right? In the midst of his thoughts, Jason's phone rang. I don't know what was said on the other side, but I only heard his voice was cold. I have something important to do today. I can't make the flight today, so I'll change it to tomorrow. The meeting has been postponed for a day. After that, he hung up the phone. But I couldn't help but feel uneasy. That Jason. Do you have a flight to catch? Why don't you put me down? Maybe you can still make it. No need. Nothing's going to bother me. He paused and continued. Take the car in for repairs. Me. Good. Not bad for him. Cleanliness undo si deco existing. I was just breathing a sigh of relief when I realized that the good oldest child was snoozing in my arms. When it was time to get out of the car, the 40-pound scale made it extraordinarily difficult. Even more desperate. My house is on the 5th floor, and there is no elevator. Jason got right out of the car and helped me pick up my good oldest child. Have the child's father come down and get it. I hung my eyes, not knowing what to say for a moment. The child's father is here. Where else can I find the child's father? But Jason clearly misunderstood. What? You cheated and found it back then and you can't see it? I was so angry that my brain was hot. And I raised my head to glare at him. No father. 7 Jason twisted eyebrows. Slowly loosened. The words that came out of his thin lips were very certain. You're divorced. I gritted my teeth. One word at a time. I'm widowed. Jason stared at me for a while. The emotions in his eyes, making it impossible to understand. After a long time, he faintly spat out 2 words, congratulations. After saying that, he hugged my cub and headed upstairs, leaving me in the same place. Jason left the baby and the car at the door and went back. I spread out on the bed and closed my eyes. Jason used to be from a good family. Now it's even more luxury cars, watches, high fashion suits. Everywhere shows the nobility. 5 years. Jason should have fulfilled his youthful dream and become a new nobleman. But now I has long been different. Is a card only 100? 0 ordinary people. That 100,000. Or the money I tried to save up for my son's elementary school. But if after this repayment I have nothing left. After thinking about it for a long time, I called my best friend. After the 2W arrived, her old worrywart ways couldn't be contained. What's going on? Didn't you pay off all the money you owe? Another debtor came to your door? I smiled. How come? I've already made a deal with someone to clear the debt. As I said this, I stroked my son's furry little head. For so many years, I have really wronged him. Because of avoiding debts. He followed me around several cities before settling down this year. Luna. I ran into Jason today. I scratched Jason's car and had to pay NW. Luna's shocked voice grew louder and louder, making my ears itch. What did you say? You met Jason and he became your debtor? I sighed and told what happened today. As a result, Luna actually calmed down after hearing it. That's Jason. He's a nouveau rich. He still cares about your 10W? Are you sure he's not trying to get close to you in the name of paying back the money? I froze. Then immediately retorted. No way. After all, I dumped him in public that year. It's good that he doesn't hate me. Luna, then why don't you go to the police? I gave the good old boy a look. It's easy to go to the police. But I don't want my son to have too much contact with Jason. Jason is very perceptive. So if he finds out something while he still hates me, what am I going to do? That night, I transferred to W to Jason. Jason not only didn't receive the money, but also sent me a question mark. Jason, your roommate's birthday. Jason, you're not going to your roommate's wedding? Huh? After I graduated from college, I changed all my contact information, and I haven't been in touch with my college roommate for a long time. Why is he suddenly talking about this? I was surprised when a friend request appeared on my cell phone. It was Queenie, my best friend from college. Just after I passed it, her message blew up. Bella, I finally got in touch with you after all these years. Where the hell have you been? I'm getting married the day after tomorrow. And I've always wanted you to be a bridesmaid. But I couldn't find you, but now it's so sudden. It's a little too late to get ready. But you have to come to my wedding. I hesitated for a moment. Okay. On the other hand, Jason returned the 2W to me. I'm traveling on a flight tomorrow. So you can help me with the ONU share and deduct it from my debt. I was stunned. Jason and Queenie should have never met. How come the offer is ONU? But if he goes out of town tomorrow, I'm relieved. That way, I wouldn't have to worry about seeing him at the wedding. On the day of the wedding, I entrusted the cubs to Luna. Simply dressed up and set off towards the hotel. From afar, I saw Queenie and her husband at the door to greet the guests. Soon, Queenie was so excited that she lifted the hem of her skirt and called out my name with red eyes. Many old classmates in the neighborhood gathered around when they heard me. They asked me how I was doing. Just then, a sharp voice rang out. Bella? I can't believe it's you. Didn't you disappear after graduation? Why are you suddenly here? I turned my head to look. It looked a bit familiar. But I couldn't recall. I simply skimmed over the question and pulled out my share of the money from my bag. Queenie. This is Jason's 10,000 gift money. As soon as the words left my mouth, several people around me couldn't help but gasp out in shock. Wow. No way. After graduation, you and Jason got back together? Bella. You played Jason so hard back then, and you guys got back together. It's true love. It's true love. The crowd all perked up their ears, waiting to hear my answer. Even Queenie is looking at me with anticipation. When I was chasing Jason, I was open and passionate. Being able to fall in love with the god of learning. We have always been a highly regarded couple. And the one that everyone looked up to. Everyone thought we would get married. But later on, our breakup was also a big deal. I was silent for a few seconds and pulled out another 2,000 from my bag. No, I just stopped by to help him with his gift. This is my share of the money. Everyone froze. The shrill voice rang out again. I told you so. Jason was outstanding at the academy back then. And the only thing that makes you a good match for him is his family history. And J is a good match for him. He said. Graduation time made such a mess. He can forgive you? Jason is now the hotshot CEO of a publicly traded company. That's what I said. I'd be rude if I didn't dislike it back. Who are you? I'm Yvonne. I guess I don't remember her. My voice looks exasperated. Speaking the name. I finally got it right. After all, back when I caught up with Jason, she was rumored to be so angry that she cried all night. I laughed. So it's you, the underdog. You. Yvonne wanted to curse. But I guess she saw how many people were there. So she held back and swallowed her words. Changing direction. She started to nitpick again. Bella. Weren't you rich when you were in college? Why are you wearing such old jewelry now? It seems to be old. Right? If you don't have money, you don't match Jason. I paused and looked down at the red bracelet on my wrist. It was still given to me by Jason back then. Because of the debt, I sold all the jewelry in the house. Only this bracelet I have always kept with me. Attending occasions. Hands bare. Always feel awkward. Today, I wore it out. Purely on the basis that Jason said he wouldn't come. I was thinking about how to dislike it back when a gasp of surprise came from the entrance of the hotel. I turned my head along with everyone else. From a distance, I saw the familiar figure. It was Jason. He was surrounded by his old classmates and walked in, but his eyes fell straight on me. I heard the person beside me ask, Ji-shen, I thought you did not come. Jason nodded slightly. Just got off the plane and came over. I was a little uncomfortable and tried to darken the table to remove it. This action was keenly noticed by Jason. Inexplicably, I seemed to see a hint of a smile in the bottom of his eyes. Just then, Yvonne's spitefulness continued. Bella. Say something? It's not like you're weak at the sight of Gigi and Jayan. Is it? Their bracelet style is too old. Look at mine. Cartier Neo model. The words just fell. Jason directly took over the conversation. It's my fault the bracelet is old. Bella always wears the love token I gave her. After the wedding, I'll take you to buy some new ones and we'll switch them around. Me. Yvonne. Crowd. Queenie reacted earlier than I did. She was so excited that she almost jumped up. You two argue without waiting for me to deny it. Jason raised his eyebrows and gave an ambiguous answer. Catch your joy. Several whistles went up around us. While Yvonne's face turned blue, but she didn't dare to say another word. Soon, everyone dispersed and headed for the field. I tried to slip away, but Jason's big hand grabbed me straight away. Bella. I glanced at the bracelet. A little embarrassed. I thought you said you weren't coming today? Jason's eyebrows were colored with a bit of danger as he bent over slightly to look at me. So you're wearing it because I'm not coming? I didn't dare say anything. His face darkened inch by inch and he eventually turned and walked away. I sighed in relief and silently found a seat further away. As for what he just meant by his words, I didn't dare to think anything other than to help me out. Not far away, cool and probing eyes fell on me from time to time. I forced my composure to ignore it. The next second, however, the phone rang. Jason, come here. I didn't resist frowning and glancing back at him. My ass not moving. I'm fine sitting here. Why is this man so moody? Come on. Turning back to meet that gaze well, I gave in. After I sat uncomfortably next to him, I asked in a low voice, why did you call me? I'm going to drink later. So you can take me home. Jason demanded blandly. And I refused without thinking. If you're drunk, you can call a chauffeur. Jason didn't push too hard, and just said a few words. $10. 0 off. Do I get a ride or not? I'll send it to you. I guarantee you a safe delivery. The 10. 0 yuan chauffeur fee. Who do not want who grandson? 14 Jason is always the one who is sought after wherever he goes. After a banquet. His cheeks turned a little red from drinking. I tried to persuade him to drink less several times. But it was only after the newcomers finished their toasts that I finally couldn't hold back. Drink less. No one will take care of you if you drink too much. I whispered. But the people around me heard me. And Queenie laughed and teased me before lamenting. It's a good thing Jason gave me your contact information. Otherwise I would have regretted it forever if you couldn't come to my wedding. I was a bit puzzled. They don't know each other very well. How could they have this kind of contact? Queenie was also puzzled. I don't long for it either. How many people wanted to add Jiang's WeChat but couldn't? But 2 days ago he actually took the initiative to add me. He said that he finally found you and asked us old friends to get in touch with you, so that you wouldn't run away again. These words my heart moved. A slight sideways glance at Jason. The man, however, met my eyes without flinching. I don't know if it was because of the alcohol, but the gaze, which was usually always indifferent, actually carried a hint of a smile. After 5 years, for the first time I stood shoulder to shoulder with Jason. The small heart cannot control the fluttering. He couldn't have pushed tweets to Queenie just to create an opportunity to meet, I thought. But I didn't dare to think more. After all, the current me would not be worthy of him for a long time. It was an hour before the wedding reception broke up. Jason's steps were a bit disorganized, and it took me a lot of effort to stuff him into the car. Jason, where is your house? Jason leaned on the passenger side and didn't say anything, but his eyes kept falling on me. I was uncomfortable with the way he was looking at me. I have words on my face. Come on, you say it. Your home is in. Jason kissed me without warning. The smell of alcohol mixed with the faint scent of perfume lingered on the tip of his nose for a long time. I struggled and pushed Jason's shoulder, but to no avail. Jason, who had always treated me gently, was overbearing this time. He didn't let go of me until I could barely breathe. Bella. Jason's voice was a little hoarse. You don't have anything you want to say to me about your old classmates getting married? Of course I knew what Jason was referring to. In college we said we'd get married as soon as we graduated. But I just said break up and disappeared in front of his eyes. Just now Queenie said he searched for me for a month that year like he was mad. I took a deep breath and forced myself to swallow a choked sob. Bella. Why did you leave without saying goodbye back then? I bit my lip tightly, just about to tell the whole truth. But raising my eyes slightly, I saw his car, his watch, and his person. Everywhere you look, there is a sense of nobility. And the most expensive thing on my body is the old bracelet he gave me back then. To the mouth words, unconsciously swallowed, I heard myself say with feigned calmness, didn't you hear all the rumors at school? And my son. You saw him. Jason stiffened, as if he'd come mostly to his senses in a flash. I smiled again. You don't think that's your son, do you? Jason looked up at me blankly, his eyes growing colder and colder. After a long moment, his icy gaze swept over my wrist. Then why are you wearing it? I pursed my lips and ruthlessly took off the bracelet. My hand was choked with pain. Took it casually. Since you mind, I'll give it back. I was at home drinking wine when Luna sent the good daughter back. Didn't you have enough wine? What's the matter? You saw Jason again, didn't you? I laughed. How do you know? Luna snickered and clinked glasses with me. I don't know you. Do I? You didn't cry when your family went bankrupt. And you didn't cry when you went around dodging debts. All these years. When it comes to Jason, you cry like you don't have any money. I opened my mouth but I was dumbfounded. Luna handed me a piece of paper. Does he have a girlfriend? Or is his girlfriend flirting with you? Neither. Jason kissed me and asked me why I left without saying goodbye. Luna cursed and stood straight up. Isn't that a good thing? You cry, Paul. You like Jason. Jason obviously likes you too. Why are you still fighting? The baby is 5 years old. I took another sip of wine. But my family is broken. Jason has a successful career. What can I do to deserve him? When I graduated from college, my dad was screwed by an old friend in a project. The company went bankrupt and my dad jumped to his death. I sold everything and ended up with a debt of $5 million. I had to cover it. And Jason. School bully. School bully. With an unlimited future. I had the courage to chase him shamelessly because my family had some money. But when I was penniless, why stay with him? To drag him down with my dreams? Bella. Do you really think that Jason doesn't know anything about your current situation? Hearing this, I was stunned. Luna began to analyze me seriously. When you left without saying goodbye, Jason will definitely look for you. Right? If he couldn't find you, he would definitely look for your family. If a company as big as yours suddenly closed down, would he know nothing about it? 5 years ago, you had the best food and clothes. What about now? I looked at the down jacket that I hadn't changed even though it had run out of down. I must have seen it too. Luna pointed to the family photo on the wall. Are you sure you want to be like this for the rest of your life? Even if you don't want Jason, your baby doesn't want a father? There was a loud bang in my head, as if something had exploded. Is my baby really going to be denied fatherly love for the rest of his life for the sake of my pride and face? And did I really let go of Jason? After the hangover, and next day, where the good oldest son yelled at me to get up and eat. Lazy moms always have a hardworking son, and at 5 years old, my son already knows how to cook connie. Mommy, are you still not feeling well? I kissed my cub's soft cheeks, full of blood. But while we were eating, the door of the house was suddenly knocked rudely. The tip of my heart trembled. 5 years after graduation, this was the sound I dreaded the most. Bella, open the door. Pay me what you owe me. I covered my cub's ears and sent him into the bedroom. Mommy, There are bad people here again. The baby's voice was crying. I held my breath and took out my cell phone to confirm. I've already paid back the last 50W last time. Why are there still people coming looking for me? Open the door. Bitch. I know you're home. It's only right that you pay your debts. Even if the King of Heaven comes today, you won't be able to escape. I looked at the balance on my card and the bank statement. I was sure that these people were looking for trouble. The door of the house was kicked and slammed. I copied out the handy stick from under the sofa and stood vigilantly at the door. They seemed to know I was home, as if they had planned this. Open the door or we'll kick it in. I gritted my teeth. I've already paid what I owe you. I don't owe you any money now. You're looking in the wrong place. A couple of brown men's sneers came from outside the door. Pay back? What you paid back was the principal. What we want now is the interest. There's still 20W of interest left. Give it to me now. I'm going to count to 3. If you don't open the door, we'll break in. 3, 1, 1, 2. Who the hell broke my fingers? That sound. Something's wrong? I thought. The brown man's angry scolding came from outside the door again. Brother. Which way are you? Dare to mess with the old Mimi? Or you also come to this little bitch to ask for money? Pain, 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 pain. I cautiously looked through the cat's eye. Jason. I opened the door without thinking. Jason. What are you doing here? Jason pursed his thin lips when he saw the stick in my hand, while the screams of the man who had just screamed got louder. His voice was no longer cool and carried some anger. Bella. Call the police. While waiting for the police, the few men who kicked the door were honest. Cubby had red eyes and buried his face in my arms. Jason stood beside me, his face hard. Do they often come to you like this? No. I had just denied it when Pup lifted his head. The bad uncles come so often that Mommy and I are afraid to go to sleep. I hate bad uncles. Jason's veins jumped at the corners of his forehead. But he didn't ask why I was involved with these people. He kicked the calf of the man in charge. How much does she owe you? The man opened his mouth and babbled. 20W. No more. No less. Brother. Are you her man? Give us the money. We don't want any trouble. Right? Jason was silent and wanted to get his cell phone. I frowned and stopped Jason's movement. I've already paid back the money I owe them. It's interest that they suddenly came out with. Jason's eyes were cold, looking over the man. Anyway, we won't ask you for money for no reason, then let's talk about it when we get to the police station. The bank flow and also the transfer records I handed over to the police together. The men only explained later. It turned out that they had run out of money from playing poker, so they wanted to come to my place to scavenge a little. After the matter was settled, Jason sent me home. On the way home, I was distracted and wanted to say something. When I was in a state of confusion, Jason suddenly braked sharply. I wasn't prepared for it, and almost hit my head. Jason turned his head. What do you want to ask? Ask. Why did you come over today? Jason's thin lips pursed. His amber eyes so deep that it looked like he wanted to suck people in. Bella. You don't know what you're asking. Huh? Don't knowingly ask what? Seeing my confusion, Jason stepped on the gas as soon as the light turned green. He drove all the way to my house without saying a word. When I was about to get out of the car, Jason pulled me back. His body with a smell of tobacco. His eyes seemed to be mixed with a trace of aggression. How can you be so heartless? After being gone for 5 years, you really don't have anything you want to say to me? When I looked at each other, I finally couldn't hold back the redness in my eyes. The fear I had just felt and the composure I had put on for years collapsed in this instant. I cried out with a wow sound. Even worse than the good oldest child cried. Jason was stunned for a second, and then immediately panicked. Okay. Okay. I won't say you're heartless anymore. Don't cry. Don't cry. Okay? I was too mean just now. Jason couldn't coax me, so he could only hold me in his arms and gently stroke my back. I don't know how long it took for my sobs to subside. You're not crying anymore? My nose and eyes were red. No looking at me. Jason sighed in resignation. Just don't cry. After a few moments of silence, I was the first to speak. Why don't you ask me why you owe those people money? Jason answered quickly. If you don't want to talk about it, I won't ask. I grinned. Jason was exactly the same as before. Jason never pressed too hard on what I didn't want to say. But every time something unexpected happened, he was able to help me out without a hitch. Even after not seeing him for 5 years. That hasn't changed. My family went bankrupt. You should know that. Right? Before you even graduated from college, your tutor connected you with a job. I would have accompanied you to wherever you wanted to go. But I was saddled with a $5 million debt. I don't want to hold you back. I didn't dare to look up at him after I finished. I didn't expect him to say just one sentence with the slightest hint of anger. Just because of that? Bella, you don't trust me that much? My tears, without being able to hold them back, crashed down. The fall was so great at that time that I didn't know how to show it at all. I tried to tell Jason the truth, but every time the words came to my mouth, my throat felt as if it was blocked by something, and I couldn't get a word out. In the end, I had no choice but to run away and escape to a place where no one knew me. I began to work desperately, day and night to earn money. Now I finally paid off my debt. And I met Jason again. Jason looked at me for a moment and pulled another jewelry box out of his car. Bella. It was a bracelet. The style was simple, but it was also so pretty you couldn't take your eyes off it. I had this bracelet custom made. I don't care about the past 5 years. Let me take care of you guys from now on. Okay? I let Jason put the bracelet on my wrist. He said, 1 bracelet a year from now on. Let's see who dares to laugh at your old style. I couldn't stop the tears even more and choked back a sob. But I still have a son. I'll treat him like my own. Jason was serious. I burst into tears. That's only if he accepts you. Jason pursed his lips in deep thought for a moment. A quarter of an hour later, several new toy cars and sets of Legos were delivered. Go upstairs. Jason personally carried the toy cars and Legos up to the 5th floor in one trip. I couldn't help but snicker at the look of determination on his face. I wondered if the blood in my bones could stand up to the 5 years I had never met him. A good big child heard the movement of the door opened and pounced over like before. I guess he didn't expect that the one he jumped on wasn't Mommy. Uncle? Howder looked up in confusion. But it was too late for him to break free from Jason's arms and pounce on me. Jason picked up Goodyear straight away, like most fathers and sons do, and onto his neck. Goodale exclaimed. So that's how all it is. So cool. Jason smiled. Good boy. Tell Uncle what your name is. The good big child like a small adult smile. He was so determined to let Jason take him to rental laps in the living room. The original empty living room suddenly has Jason's joining. Seems to suddenly become just right. Father and son were playing like crazy. And I have rarely seen such a childish side of Jason. Knowing that both of them were tired and out of breath, Jason asked again. Quickly tell Uncle. What is your name? The big boy's head tilted. What's your name? Jason. I don't know why. But he suddenly jumped up and took my hand. His eyes were shining brightly. Mommy. Jason. I pinched his cheeks. Don't be rude. Mommy. Is this the uncle you call Jason every night in bed? I stiffened. When did that happen? Jason looked at me a little deeper, and I blushed. Don't talk nonsense. Goodyear was anxious. I'm not talking nonsense. Mommy talks in her sleep every night, and it keeps me awake. I cleared my throat in embarrassment. How does he know everything? Uncle Jason. My name is Ryan. Jason's fingertips trembled lightly as if he had realized something and jerked his head up to look at me. Then took a closer look at Goodale. He held the good oldest child in front of the mirror. The contours of the father and son's features were the same. Even the shocked demeanor was identical. I laughed so hard I almost rolled over. President Jason. Your own son. Take care of it yourself. Jason and Ryan were spreading out in the living room, playing so much that Ryan passed out. Bella. Ryan is really mine. I put my arms around Jason's neck. Who else could it be? I'm millions in debt. Who would dare? Before I could finish my sentence, Jason kissed me without a word and backhandedly locked the bedroom door. While panting, Jason whispered in my ear in a low voice, Bella. Let's get married. I can't wait. The next morning, Jason woke me up and told me to go get the license. When I went downstairs, I suddenly realized that there were a lot of cigarette ashes in the flower bed by the roadside. It was cold and it was all frozen with the water. Thinking about the smell of tobacco on Jason's body yesterday, and the timely arrival when there was danger. Jason, why did you come so timely yesterday? Jason glanced at the cigarette ash. I never left. A few short words. All of his firm resolve. I smiled. This is happiness.